So, what if one of the biggest diplomatic moments in modern history wasn't really about policy at all, but about psychology? Today, we're going to dig into a potential US Iran deal that really hinges on the personalities and the ambitions of just two men.
So on April 13th, boom, Donald Trump drops this bombshell. Right there, it sounds like a historic deal is just moments away. Decades of hostility, all about to be wrapped up with a single phone call.
But hold on, just one day before that, this was his public line: "I don't care." A complete 180 in less than 24 hours. Now, this isn't just a simple contradiction, it's a huge clue. All right, so what is the real story here? How do you go from "I don't care" to "they're desperate for a deal" basically overnight? Well, to figure that out, we have to look past the headlines. Because, with Trump, the words themselves often aren't really the point. To truly get what's happening, you have to read his psychological map. You got to look at what's really driving him behind the scenes. So, who's actually pulling the strings here? To understand this whole potential deal, we have to look at the only two people who truly matter, the guys holding all the cards.
On one side, you've got Donald Trump, the showman. He sees politics as a personal game, and he sees himself as an equal to Iran's top leader. And on the other side, Mojtaba Khaminai, the shadow. Now, after a recent attack, he's injured and works from behind the scenes. But make no mistake, sources confirm he is mentally sharp, he's actively directing the talks, and he is the real decision maker in Iran.
This quote right here, this gets to the absolute heart of Trump's worldview. He doesn't see global politics as a complex process for diplomats. For him, it's all a transaction, a coercive bargain between powerful leaders. It's a game of strongmen.
And we've seen this playbook before, haven't we? I mean, think about it. His historic sit-down with Kim Jong-un, the summit with Vladimir Putin, even the deal with the Taliban. In every single case, it was all about creating that big moment, that photo op between the leaders themselves.
So that brings us to the ultimate motivation. What's the real prize for Trump in getting this photo of the century? What's his personal endgame in shaking hands with the leader of Iran?
It's this, the Nobel Peace Prize. According to our sources, this is a long-standing obsession for Trump. He wants an achievement so big, so undeniably historic, that the Nobel Committee just can't ignore it.
And look, this isn't some new ambition. He's been actively going after this prize for a while now, and he's already racked up 3 separate nominations. It has clearly been on his mind for a very long time. Let's just look at the track record here. 2018 for the North Korea summit, 2020 for the Abraham Accords, and then again in 2021 for his part in a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. He wants this prize, and a deal with Iran, that's his biggest shot yet. So here's the crucial point. For Trump to get that Nobel, he knows he has to be the one in the photograph. The prize doesn't go to some negotiating team, it goes to the man who shakes the hand and signs the deal. Okay, so we get the why. Now, let's dive into the what. What are the actual terms being hashed out for this potentially historic deal? Really, it all boils down to this one key issue: uranium enrichment. The U.S. is demanding that Iran suspends its program for 20 years. Iran's come back with an offer of 5. That leaves a 15-year gap. Now, that looks big, but it's not as impossible as it sounds. In these kinds of high-stakes negotiations, a gap like this can absolutely be bridged. A compromise somewhere in the middle, maybe 7 to 10 years, that's seen as a pretty realistic landing zone. But it's going to require a final push from the top. So the process for getting to yes is actually pretty clear. First, you have the diplomats do all the groundwork. They narrow the differences. But they just don't have the power to close the deal. Only the guys at the very top can make that final, historic compromise. The decision comes down to just 2 people: Trump and Mojtaba. And for Iran, the prize is enormous. This isn't just some small agreement, it's a grand bargain. We're talking about an economic lifeline, the end of crippling sanctions that have choked their economy for years, a full-on return to the international community, and, maybe even a little more. After all, with Trump, every deal is a business deal, right? So if the players are in place and the deal is this close, the final questions are pretty obvious. When and where? How would this historic handshake actually go down? And let's be super clear about the scale of what we're talking about here. A handshake between the leaders of the U.S. and Iran after 47 years of pretty much open hostility would be a moment bigger than Nixon's trip to China, bigger than Reagan and Gorbachev ending the Cold War. Right now, two main locations are on the table. You've got Geneva, Switzerland. It's neutral and, really important, it's high security for Mujtaba. But then there's Islamabad in Pakistan. It's trusted by both sides, and it offers Trump this really powerful narrative for the Nobel Committee, the image of a peacemaker making a deal in a Muslim nation.
And listen, this isn't some far off dream. A US official literally told CNN that plans are in place to move immediately if there's a breakthrough. That word, immediately, tells you everything you need to know about how fast this could move.
Because the clock is ticking. There's a deadline looming, and it is just 8 days away. 8 days to either make this historic deal happen or risk the whole thing falling apart and escalating right back into conflict. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly stark question. The entire world is basically holding its breath. Are we about to witness a handshake that changes the world, driven by one man's personal quest for a Nobel Prize? Or is this high-stakes psychological gamble going to fail and plunge the region right back toward war? It's pretty wild to think the fate of millions could really rest on the ambitions of just two men.